So what is the name of your shop here?
It's just called Ink. The
Okay.
website is under Ink Maine, just because it was a short name.
All right.
We're located in Rumford, Maine.
And you're Chris Howes, the owner of the location?
Yep.
And,
I'm the only tattoo artist here. We have an apprentice, Joe, and we have a piercer, his wife, Jess.
Okay.
It's a very small shop.
How long have you been in this location?
We've been here 2 years, last August.
All right. Now, how long after you moved in did you start noticing activity in here?
About the next day.
Really?
When we started moving stuff around, when we first came in, there was a lot of stuff left here. There was a lot in the basement that's still down there from when we moved in. And,
Okay.
And
So previous tenants or something?
yeah. There's a screen printing shop here before, and there's a bunch of stuff down there. And we heard stuff the next day, voices and talking, and we always see little shadows in the back. We never see or hear anything up here. It's all in the back or downstairs.
So out here in the primary business area, there's not a whole lot going on. It's down in the basement? Or it's
No,
all
I've never
centered,
seen or heard anything. There's been a couple times where I've seen stuff in the back area, but never here. We can hear it though.
Right.
It's loud.
Now, when you and I were on the phone yesterday, you had mentioned that you didn't really, Michelle has reported a lot of things to you or brought a lot of things to your attention, but you were kind of skeptical until just recently?
Yeah, I kind of, I was more on the side of making fun of it, but since I've been here, it's definitely convinced me to be a believer. We've kind of interacted a little bit. We've knocked back and forth and stuff, and it definitely turns your opinion around.
So you've knocked and asked for a response and received that response?
Yeah, we just did this last weekend. We got activity last weekend. We were here Thursday and Friday night, and I was trying to show Joe like, oh, you want to meet the ghost, and we were doing some knocking, and it was repeating it back. It's loud, and it's usually about half the speed that you knock, but it usually does it.
Oh, all right.
It feeds back a lot when it's loud in here. When it's quiet, when I have a slow day, you don't get any feedback. When it's loud, when there's a lot of people, we always get it that night.
All right. So you think maybe it's disturbed by all of the activity around here?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest times we've ever seen it when like sometimes I do events, like I'll do a $50 day and people can get tattooed all day for $50 and we'll have people in and out all day, and then we usually have a little get together and play pool after, and it's nights like that where we really hear things.
Great. Well, let's go look at some of the areas where you're seeing shadows or hearing noises, and then we'll move into the basement and check that place out.
Sure. This is the back area. This is kind of where we hear a lot of stuff. It's just a storage room and our bathroom. And this is the only way to get down to the basement. There's kind of a lot of stuff. We just use it kind of as a store all, but my desk is there. You can see where I sit at my computer. And a lot of times I'll hear things and I'll see it right where we're standing. You'll see stuff kind of sweep around. Like you can't really see figures. It's just shadows.
So shadows. So you'll be sitting out there and look into here and see the shadow.
Yeah. Before we had those curtains, we have those black curtains up. Before we had those, you could actually see a little bit of the reflection off the window of the street. You can see the light off the window. Okay. And sometimes you can just hear things and you look and you can see that light block out for a second.
Okay. And now you do have, most of your windows are blacked out now. So
yep.
You wouldn't see a shadow of somebody walking by, perhaps?
No. You still see stuff back here though, and the light doesn't work back here. There's an overhead light, but it doesn't work, so we don't keep it on. It's usually pretty dim back here, and everything seems to stay beyond the doors here. Back here is just a storage room. We've kind of, I don't know, seen a couple shadows and stuff back here, but when I first started working, a lot of times I would be tattooing people and they would ask me if I'd have people in the back, if there's kids in the back or if there's people in back. And I mean, that's probably happened at least a dozen times, and there's never anybody back here.
So while you're working out there, your patrons are asking you if there are people
even
back
over
here?
the sound of the tattoo machine and the music playing, there's been a good handful of people that have been like, do you have people downstairs, do you have people out back? And there is an alleyway, there's a back door, it's a private alley that only me and 2 businesses use. But nobody goes back there.
No kids hanging out back there?
I've been here 2 years, I've only seen maybe 1 person back there. There's a hotel right there that's a bar, but nobody ever goes back there. There's a salon. I'm the only one that uses it. I just throw my trash back there. You can get to it from the street, but nobody hangs out back there.
Now, when you guys look back here and see the shadows, can you describe what they look like? Are they, children or adults, or are they human form or some other form?
I wouldn't necessarily say it's a form. It's just a shadow. You can just see a mass.
Okay.
Like I've never really seen like an outline of, a person or a face or shoulders. It's just a shadow. There was this guy Ken who was working with me for a while, and he said multiple times that he's seen crouching, or like a couple times he referred to it as an animal. He said it was always low to the ground, it was always crouching, it was always small, and it was always back in the corner. He liked to peek around the corner before he came back to the bathroom.
And he described it as an animal or crouching?
He's mentioned it as an animal a couple times. He's mentioned crouching as a couple times. I don't think he saw it, but he saw something low, and it made him think of that.
Okay. And you've seen the shadows, and what you've seen are taller or shorter or similar?
I'd say, yeah, about my height. I wouldn't say too tall, too big, but roughly I'd say my size.
Representative of an upright person?
Yeah, yeah. And it's usually right here, yeah.
Okay. Your drum set down here?
Yeah.
Do I spend much time down here at all? Or?
Yeah, I do very often.
Yeah.
This is where I do a lot of my woodworking stuff.
Okay.
I do play my drums. It's kind of a little storage area. We throw tattoo conventions, and this is where we do a lot of the work for that. We have to do a lot of PVC, and we make plaques and stuff like that.
Okay.
So we do a lot of activity down here. We're down here quite a bit.
All right. So you mentioned a few times that this is the location in the business where a lot of the activity, comes to be or is making itself known. So what's going on down here?
You don't really see too much down here. Mostly what I see is upstairs. I've been working down here for hours at a time, and like shadows will catch the corner of your eye. Like most of the time I'm here at this bench, and you'll see stuff down there. There's a little bathroom, and it's like you can just see stuff back and forth, going back and forth.
So more shadows?
Yeah, more shadows. Usually about my height, the same thing. You can't really see a figure or a shape. It's just a shadow or something moving. You can see a shadow on the back wall, just a misplaced, little spot of light that should be there that's not.
Okay. Now you've mentioned knocking. So you talked about the other day knocking and waiting for a response and getting that response and repeating what you were doing for the sound patterns. Is that happening down here or is that happening upstairs?
Yeah, it's down here. Like sometimes it sounds like it's directly below us. Sometimes it sounds like it's next door.
Okay.
The other night when Joe heard it, it sounded like it was the drum. It sounded like somebody was just putting a finger on the drum. It had that bass feel. You could feel it in your chest. It wasn't just like you could barely hear it. You could feel it. And
Okay.
we were upstairs. We were right above it.
So you're upstairs making the knocking noises,
Yeah.
and you're hearing the knocking coming from
Most
down
of the time I tap on the floor, so it's loud.
here? Okay.
Sometimes I knock, and he usually does it back. Not all the time, but most times.
And there are businesses on either side of you?
Yeah, the business to the right of us is a salon. They don't have a basement.
Okay.
They're just an upright. They don't have a basement at all. Even their oil tanks are flat level on the ground.
Okay.
There is a separation. Next door, it's all one big basement. There hasn't been anybody next door for 2 years. It's been vacant. People just put equipment in there within the last month, but there's nobody in there. I haven't even seen anybody go through that door in a few weeks.
And is the salon, do they have different hours than you or similar hours? Or?
They're usually closed by 5, and usually out of there by 5 the latest. They're not open at night or anything.
And your hours, what are your hours when you're working upstairs?
Usually I close at 5, but we hang out a lot
So
at
you-
night.
yeah,
We
usually
do
here,
artwork,
yeah.
we play pool, we listen to music.
And is that typically when you have the activity? Or
Yeah, yeah. And it's not even too late at night. Usually it's 9, 10 o'clock. It's not even too late, really.
Has anything ever happened that kind of frightened you or any of your
At first,
clients,
until
or-
Michelle kind of calmed me down. One of the first things, like one of the first couple weeks after I built the desks up there, there was knocking, and I was doing something. I was playing harmonica, tapping on the floor, and I could feel it doing it back. So I kind of turned on the music because I was playing along with music, and it was tapping with me, and then I would tap and it would tap back, and it kept progressively getting louder to the point where it felt like it was underneath me. It was shaking the desk. There's a glass desk, and it was rattling the glass in the desk, and I bolted for the door. That was the only time it really scared me, and then I started telling her about it, and kind of calmed me down after that. It's never done anything to frighten me or to scare anybody off. Or.
Now, Michelle, had you been experiencing activity prior to that, or?
The very first weekend that we came down here to help get the shop ready to be open, I was here 20 minutes and I heard whistling. I was upstairs in between the back room and this room right here, and built that wall, and I was painting it, and I kept hearing whistling, and they thought it was him whistling at me from the front of the shop. So I kept going out and asking him, "Are you whistling? What do you want?" And it was nothing, and I heard it 7 or 8 times. That afternoon, I also saw what I thought was a cat run in the back alley, and I went out to go see what it was, and there was nothing there. Okay. And I saw that a couple of times. So right away, like the minute I walked in the door, I was like, "Oh, this place is special."
And have either of you ever been in other locations where there has been paranormal activity?
Yeah,
or?
I grew up in a house that was had a lot of paranormal activity.
And have you?
No.
Okay. So this is your first experience?
Yeah, it sure is.
All right. And have you experienced anything that frightened you at all, or made you scared?
No, nothing frightening here. No.
All right.
I got a question for you though.
Sure.
Does it seem to respond to music usually when you're doing music?
Yeah, I always have music on. There's never a time when I
Okay.
don't have music on. It's usually loud at night when we're hanging out and playing pool. We even heard it the other day. Joe and I worked down here for a couple hours cleaning stuff up and rearranging some stuff, and we heard knocking in the middle of the day, which is the first time we've heard it during the day, and it was over the music. It was blatantly over the music. We turned it down and we listened, and Joe kind of tried to get it to interact, and we couldn't get it to do it again. And it's the first time we've heard it during the day. Usually at night we hear it, we have music turned up really loud, and then we shut the music off, and that's when we start hearing things.
Have you ever heard it speak any words, or does it ever talk to you at all?
We've
or?
heard voices, but not enough to make anything out.
Okay.
Sometimes, I haven't heard it in a while, but when we first opened here, it sounded like there was a group of people down here. Like, there were a couple of times where I would hear it and I came down and you could almost smell like cigar smoke. Like, you could smell the smoke. It was kind of musty, and that hasn't happened for a long time, but when we first started coming down here and I didn't have anything here yet, you could hear a lot of people. You could hear people in the back, and there was nothing around. There's no neighbors.
When you contacted us to come in here and conduct an investigation, you had mentioned that you thought this may have been used at some point in time as a speakeasy?
One of the rumors that we heard from someone, I'm not even sure who it was, is that at one point in time, the people who were here were using this for a speakeasy, and they had poker games and stuff like that downstairs. And my first thought was that would be why we hear groups of voices and why they respond to music and to when there's so many people around.
And possibly why you're smelling the cigar smoke when you come down
Yeah.
here. Yep. Now, having someone told you a little bit about the history and the potential of this being a speakeasy, have you ever tried to address people in that manner, knowing that that may be who's down here?
Not really. I have come down and just been like, you know, "Oh, we're gonna go play cards tonight. Are you gonna come play cards with us?" and stuff like that. But, and stuff like that is normally on a night when we have a bunch of people in, and there's already been knocks and stuff. So just trying to get it to do that more. I'm not sure if it really works or not, because it's already happening by the time you think to do something like that.
And I wonder if, I mean, you guys have a similar type of environment upstairs where you kind of hang out after work and you're having a few beers and playing pool and just kind of hanging out and socializing. So that may be why, if that is the case, and that's what the spirits are that are here, that may be why they're more open to interacting with you. So, great. We're just getting started here in Ink Tattoo. We're here in Rumford, Maine, and we are, it's about 5:30. And we're just getting some tripods set up, and we're just going to get them all built up so we can put cameras on. Then once we get going, John's taking some baseline readings right now throughout the building so we can make sure we know if there are any hot spots, any big electrical currents coming through the walls, or bad temperature spots, or any creaking or noises that would cause us to think that there might be a spirit trying to interact with us. So just getting those baselines right now. Once we got all our gear unpacked, we will get set up, and we'll start probably with either an EVP or a ghost box session.
So far I've been pretty much around the whole outside of the building and have gotten 0, even on the outlets on that wall, except for the clock radio, which they always give off quite a bit. That's giving off about a 9. I'm surprised his tattoo gear must all be turned off, because usually that'll give off a real high EMF, but I was getting him nothing. So yeah, this is for an amplifier for the stereo, which is giving out 0, so obviously there's no power going to it. This is a power supply, which should give off a tremendous amount of EMF. Okay, this time it is a siren, I know that. This should be giving off a tremendous amount of EMF if it was turned on, but it's not. So I'm just looking for things that are turned on. That's giving off a 0.7 or 9, all the way up to 1.1, 0.2. You got to be really close to it to even get a reading. Ooh, all the way up to a 4. And of course, clock radios are always known for giving off high EMF. I don't know if you can see that. We're up to 37 at one point. Again, you got to be pretty close, so we're not going to be right in this area. So. It goes out quite a ways.
They are quite bright. They give us a more intense infrared blast, so we can get a lot more coverage in our film and that.
Okay.
That was me whispering by the way, saying nice job.
So I was taking EMF readings, and we just heard a loud bang in the basement. And we were going to start walking out into the other room because we're done EMF readings, and then it sounded like something hit the cymbal, one of the cymbals on the drum set downstairs. So we're going to go downstairs and check that out real quick. I cough. We're in the basement of the tattoo shop. Got a time.
5:44. 5:44.
It's 5:44. 5:44. I'm going to put this recorder down right on the stool for the drums. Upstairs, I thought I just heard one of these, and I'm going to hit that. You're going to hear it on the recorder. It wasn't that one. That one, I think. Yeah, it sounded like that one. One of those two got hit. I'm not getting any EMF readings, but I'm going to go ahead and leave that recorder. If there's any spirits down here that would like to play us a tune or hit the drums again, that would be awesome. Or you can talk into this recorder. Maybe tell us your name.
We were upstairs. We're downstairs in the basement right now. Phew. Definitely a basement down here, huh? We were right upstairs where the steps are right there, and John was taking EMF readings with his millimeter. We heard a thump. We didn't know what the thump was, but I didn't dismiss it wholly, but I didn't take it into account fully. And
No, because they were in the other room and we weren't sure if it was down here or upstairs, but so we started to move out in the other room, and that's when I heard it sounded like one of these cymbals got hit.
so we're down here in the basement right now at the drum set, and we've just set up an audio recorder, and we're trying to find out if there's anyone down here with us, and maybe if they'll come over and hit the drum set again. So. There's no one in this building but us. It sounded like someone's walking. There's no one on the other side. There's no basement on the other side. There's no one in the business. And that building doesn't have a business in it. What is that?
I know what it is if you want to know.
Okay, what is it?
It's part of the hot water system.
That makes sense.
Usually you get an air bubble and it bubbles back down.
Okay.
That was, but there was only one.
Yeah, the walking noise wasn't that big loud noise, because you could hear the pipes rattle too.
Okay.
While you guys were narrating, we heard it.
Yeah.
Someone stepping up there.
Someone's walking upstairs. It's like we come downstairs and they go upstairs.
Do you want to come down and play the drums for us? Or talk with us?
Okay.
Stop, stop. I thought I heard walking upstairs.
Yeah, it sounded like it again. Very light.
Walk lightly.
Maybe we should try and stay in the middle and spread out a little bit so we can think.
So far, we may have heard a few sounds that are unaccounted for. A thump in the back, which is where sounds are reported, but also a cymbal sound down in the basement, and we're still trying to see if that's a spirit, because what else would make the cymbal sound like it's been hit like that? Trying to see if maybe we can get the spirit to interact with us again. We're gonna start setting up more equipment. We're gonna split the team up. We're gonna try to create a dynamic situation here where if there's any spirits here who want to communicate with us, they can communicate with us on multiple levels, the basement and upstairs, maybe upstairs in the back room. Back room or out here?
What's that? The majority of the activity that they have experienced
Yep,
has been in the back room.
right.
They'll be out here and they'll see shadows, or they'll hear knocking out there,
Okay.
noises, or they'll hear knocking from the basement and voices or sounds from the basement. So there's not a whole lot of activity out in this main area. It's all pretty much in the back.
Unless they're talking about the thump.
Correct. If he'll tap his feet like this, and then they'll get a response. Sounds like it's coming from the basement, so they'll get a knocking back in a response. It'll repeat whatever they're doing. So if I 3 times, they'll hear a knock back 3 times.
So if that happens, 2 people are going to be downstairs, so they should hear it from the bottom up.
Correct.
That'd be interesting. So what I'm wondering is, should the 2 people that are upstairs sit in that back room, or will it be enough to sit out here?
He says they're usually sitting right by that desk.
They're usually sitting out here, and then they have the activity back there.
Maybe what we'll do is 2 of us will start out here, and then if we start noticing things back there, which we should, because we want it to be as natural as possible, then we'll move back there. What do you guys think? Alright, so that's our plan of action right now, is to split the team up. Now we just have to determine who gets to go down into the basement. And you're,
What do you
yeah.
want to put up here?
We're gonna put audio up here. So we're gonna, who's staying up here? You have audio.
You and Teresa, sounds like me and John are in the basement.
It is 6:12, and we are at the tattoo parlor in Rumford. It is October 27th, and I'm putting the Olympus on the railing just inside this back room, which is above the stairs. And we're gonna.
Back up, isn't it?
What the heck was that? What was that?
I don't know.
Okay, there was just a sound back here in this back room. You guys saw? There was a really loud, was it not loud?
Yes.
It was an extremely loud, like somebody was right back there.
Here?
Yes. It was really, really loud. We're gonna check it out right now, just stay right there.
Okay.
We heard like, almost like maybe, hold on, stop, let me see if it was this. No, that would've creeped, hold on, wait, maybe it was this, hold on. No. It was something loud over here. Alright, I don't know what it was, but it was in this room back here. Well, hey, did it sound like this? No. Well, what about that? Hold on, I'm gonna try to sit. What about this? No.
What about this?
Hold on, wait, go ahead. No. Alright. It didn't sound like that, but push on it, hold on. It almost sounded like that, didn't it?
Yeah.
It did. It's, look here, because that's what it sounded like. Hold on, do it again. Push on it. That's what it sounded like. It sounded like someone pushed on the door. That's weird.
You want to see if anybody over there?
Okay. Is there any way for anyone to be up
Oh
there?
yeah,
Yeah, there's
they can
two.
come down between the buildings.
Wait, go out and push on it. Here. I'm gonna close it and then push. That was a little much. Do it lightly. Yeah. Whoa. Were you holding that?
No.
Did you see that? I couldn't get the door open.
So it was like someone was like pulled on the door.
Almost like that, yeah. Alright. Yeah, look. Yeah. Alright, I'm starting right now. We're here to communicate with you. Did you start the fire?
It was set.
It was set. We'd like to know if you'd like to communicate with us. What was that?
I'm not sure.
Is anyone here who started the fire? Dead? Indeed.
Oh,
Indeed.
that sounded like a little kid voice.
Yeah, it did. That was loud, whatever it was.
We walked outside to look at the alleyway.
Whoa. Hey, clear.
Did you find the spot?